I remember in rabbinical school, I had a philosophy teacher who was known for asking what my classmates and I would call the most questions. And I don't mean quantity. Let me explain. He would walk into our classroom, barely saying hello to anyone or beginning the topic, and he would look at us one by one, and he would ask questions like this. What is the most important sentence, pasuk, in the Torah? Or what is the most important blessing on Shabbat? Or what is the most important mitzvah? Clearly, there's no answer, one answer or right answer to any of these questions, but when we all took turns trying to respond to him, then he would look at us as a group and say, so how does that idea impact others? And that's how he started many of our philosophy classes. Now, I remember many years ago, he asked, what was the most important sentence in the Haggadah? Truthfully, I have no idea what I said that day, but I imagine him asking me that every Pesach, and let me share with you how I will answer that question today. But in order to do so, I start with what I think might just be the most important word in the entire Haggadah, and the word is Adam, or person. And therefore, I answer that question as follows. I think the most important sentence in the entire Haggadah is Bechol dor vador chayav Adam lerot et atzmo ki'ilu hu yatsa mimitzrayim, which means in every generation, each person is obligated to see themselves as if they were part of the Exodus from Egypt. You know, statistically, Pesach is the most celebrated Jewish holiday of the entire calendar year. And it's really no wonder. It's a time when we gather with family and friends around our dining room tables to not only recall our history and to retell it, but we get to add our own voices, our personal stories to the never-ending journey of our people. When we do, we tell of our own stories that include triumphs, disappointments, hopefully gaining insight into our own lives. By eating matzah and maror, we remind ourselves of the emotions of both freedom and slavery. We don't just say near the beginning of the Passover Seder, halach ma'anya, this is the bread of affliction. We uncover the matzah. The leader stands up and the leader points at that piece of matzah on our tables, acknowledging that there are so many people in this world who go without. All of this, all of these examples I share with you, I believe is meant to remind us that the story is not solely about us. So that brings me back to that word Adam, which I a few moments ago said was the most important word in the entire Haggadah. Note that the verse that I quoted does not read Kol Yehudi or Kol Echad, which means every Jew or every person has to act and remember what it was like to leave Egypt. Because each of us, every one of us, is a Ben or Bat Adam, a descendant of the first human being. By the way, in the very beginning of the Torah, in the book of Breshit in Genesis, the very first human being is called Adam. It's only after Eve arrives, Chava arrives, that he is called Ish, a man. In other words, when we use that word Adam, Adam is a universal term for all of humanity. So when we declare on the Pesach Seder nights, when we declare Chayav Adam lerot et atzmo ki'ilu hu yatsa mimitzrayim, we are making the ethical statement that our story is a universal story. Each time we hear or each time we say these words, we are reminded of our own personal departures from Mitzrayim. And remembering within that word Mitzrayim is the root Sadi Resh, is the word Tsar, meaning narrowness. Each time we say these words, we speak to our collective conscience, hoping that the entire world can leave a place of narrowness towards a deeper sense of empathy and care for all who suffer. Given this current place of narrowness that the entire world is facing right now, this lesson of empathy, I think, is best taught by Rabbi Joseph Kanevsky, who wrote the following. He writes, "Every hand that we don't shake must become a phone call that we place. Every embrace that we avoid must become a verbal expression of warmth and concern. Every inch and every foot that we physically place between ourselves and another must become a thought as to how we might be of help to that other should the need arise." On this Shabbat Chol HaMoed Pesach, let us find inspiration and meaning in perhaps the most important pasuk in the Haggadah. And let us remember, we cannot tell our people's story unless we are also willing to tell the story in the present tense. Let us each hold the word Adam close to our hearts and remember that all of humanity is Adam, all of whom are in need of our tender embrace. B'chol dor vador chayav Adam lerot et atzmo ke'ilu hu yatsa mimitzrayim. In every generation, each Adam, each human being, is obligated to see the world's collective narrow place to work towards a brighter future. And remember, be safe and call someone to tell them that you love them. Shabbat Shalom